Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Snippy Joker, and on today's episode we continue our lineup of healers with one of my favorites, Cloak and Dagger. Now, Cloak and Dagger is to be considered one of the top healers in the game, even after the latest patchwork where her ult was changed where you couldn't stack it. Now, before we go into any type of tips and tricks and guide on how to play in Cloak and Dagger from my experience, let's go over some of her basic abilities. Now, Cloak and Dagger is two different characters. You start off as Dagger, which is the female, and then you can go to Cloak at any time with a phase shift, which is the male. Now, I always mix them up, and I might just mix them up with what I just said, but Dagger is, of course, your healer, Cloak is more of your enemy. So let's start off with Dagger. Now, Dagger, her first ability, or her main attack, is to not only heal your allies, but do damage to your enemies. And what I realized in the practice arena, which I didn't know before because it's kind of hard to see sometimes when you're healing multiple people, is her healing effect has a splash, area of splash healing. I was going to say damage, but healing. What I mean by that is you can heal multiple people at once if they're close in proximity. When I was healing the robots in the practice arena that were close to each other on the lineup, I was healing two at the same time. I didn't realize that, but I wanted to put that out there. Her next ability is her healing wall, and what that means is you send out a wall of healing, and any ally that I believe is near it or even slightly touches it gets a large boost of healing as it passes through them. And her last ability is the healing bubble. The healing bubble can be placed anywhere you're pointing at and can heal whoever is inside. Now, you can phase shift into Cloak, I was about to say Dagger, but Cloak, anytime you want, and there is about a 1 to 2 second delay in the transition, and probably a second or two to transition back. With Cloak, you have the ability to do damage over time, kind of like sucking out the life energy from your enemy, but you have to be close, maybe about 10 meters away from the enemy to do this. The other ability he has is like Dagger, except your wall of energy is to kind of create damage, but also blind the enemies that are either near it or within it for a couple of seconds to allow you to either get away or do damage to them while they're blinded. And lastly, he has the ability to kind of create a circle of, I would say, phantom energy that puts him invisible, but also allies around him invisible for a couple of seconds. Now, their ult, both of them together, as you can see here, is to create like this mystical field that not only does damage to enemies over time, but also heals your allies over time. And it's great to use in like areas where you need to push the enemies back or help your allies out. And like I said, in a patch, or one of the major patches, you can't double stack it like you did before. It's only wherever you place it, that's where it does. It will not overlap, is what I understand from the latest patch notes. Now, like I said before, this team up is probably one of my favorite three characters to choose for healing because of her hit scan ability. So basically, if you're pointing over a character, it kind of helps you hit that either enemy or ally easier than manually aiming other characters or other healers. That is one of the benefits of being Cloak and Dagger. The other thing is she does a very good amount of damage herself, and I mean Dagger. Like, she's no joke when it comes to healing and doing damage. So you not only can heal your allies, but if you're in a spot where your allies are doing well and you want to do the extra damage, do that extra damage. But also send out a healing wall so that as you're going towards the enemies, or your allies and enemies, you're going with a healing wall to heal them while you're doing damage. The bubble is going to be one of your best friends, because I like to use the bubble to place down where I am as Dagger so that I can do damage or heal while healing inside the bubble. You can also send it forward if your team's about to go into battle to heal them through the bubble, or basically where they're standing to make a stand against the enemy team and heal them while you're healing them with, or doing damage to the enemy with your main attacks. That's why I love the bubble. It's sad that it has a long cooldown, but when it's available, use it wisely. Now, Cloak, I don't use Cloak as much, and because, you know, if you're being Cloak and Dagger, you want to use Dagger more because you're basically being healer. You know, that's the main purpose of her as a support, is healing. But Cloak can come in clutch in unique situations. One, I like to flip back and forth. Like you saw right there, I flipped to Cloak to blind my enemies, and then flip to Dagger to do that damage. But, and I watched this or learned this from other videos, if you stand in this healing field after your ult with Cloak, you can do a lot more damage without having to worry about healing yourself or your team. But also, if you stand in this bubble and go to Cloak, you can do damage from this bubble. But that means you're taking away from healing for your team, so you want to be careful. The other thing great about Cloak is if you use his invisibility, you can get out of a lot of ults, kind of like Jeffrey's ult, to basically disappear and float away. But it also helps your allies once in a while to disappear from the enemy so that they can readjust or take advantage of this to either take an enemy down or readjust themselves to get out of harm's way. Now, Cloak and Dagger's ult, like I said, can't be stacked, but it is noted that you want to do it where you're not only healing your allies, but you're also pushing the enemy back. So you're basically doing the first swipe towards the enemy, maybe your second swipe towards the enemy, you get up to 4, and then maybe turning around to come back towards your allies. So now you have a path that's not only pushing the enemy back, possibly doing damage to them, but also healing your allies for that last push. And again, you can go right into Cloak and stay in Cloak, blind your enemies, and do damage over time so that you're not missing out on using how well Cloak can do. But again, you want to make sure that you're switching back to Dagger and playing Dagger mostly because, again, you're a healer, and your team down a healer would not be a good idea. So with that being said, I love Cloak and Dagger. I really do. I love playing her. She's in my top 3. She's usually the top 2 if I'm not playing Luna or Invisible Woman. But she is an amazing healer and great for those wanting to jump from Mantis into the next difficult challenge of being a healer. So if you're on Mantis, which is like a basic healer, and you want to do something more experienced, I mean, someone in my chat turned me on to Cloak and Dagger, and I had the most fun with her. I mean, in this game alone, I went 20-4. As a healer, that's pretty good. So I love Cloak and Dagger. I definitely consider her top 3. Let me know your thoughts. Put in the comments if you love Cloak and Dagger, if you hate Cloak and Dagger, your thoughts on them, your favorite combinations, who your favorite healer is. Let's have a conversation in the comments. But also, if you can please sub to my channel to help me grow. Put a like on the video so that others can see this and put their feedback. And you know what, again, all I ask is for a couple of comments. So again, I appreciate all the love, appreciate all the support again in these videos. I know it's not a lot right now, but I hope to be growing and become bigger over time. It's a slow process, I know. But again, any love and support I get on this, I really appreciate it. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you on the next one.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have